We didn't come up with
Okay.
anything.
I just didn't know if anybody heard from him.
Any?
Not happening.
He's not here. He's not here. You go.
All right, let's get it going.
Part and part. The one point they were
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Bethlehem Planning Commission. My name is Rob Malosky. I'm the chairman of the committee. Other Planning Commission members include to my immediate left, Mr. Matt Malozzi and Mr. Rick Pongratz. We ask anyone in attendance this evening to please silence your cell phone at this time. We will proceed through today's projects as listed on the agenda. The applicant will have a chance to present their project to the Planning Commission as their agenda item is called. Following that presentation, city staff will provide an overview of the city's comments and a recommendation. Then Planning Commission members will have an opportunity to direct questions relating to the project to both the applicant and city staff. Following Planning Commission discussion, any interested parties will have an opportunity to speak or ask questions relating to the project. We ask that you sign in. There should be a sign-in sheet here for anyone who would like to make comment on, and we ask that you give your name and address for the record. Please adhere to a 5-minute time limit. We ask that all comments be related to the project under review. When there are a significant number of interested parties, we request that members of the public be concise and avoid repeating previously made assertions. After all interested parties have had an opportunity to speak, Planning Commission members will have a final opportunity to deliberate on the project. The review of the Planning Commission is based on the provisions of the SALMO, zoning ordinances, and other municipal ordinances. Decisions will be based on these, recommendation of the city professional staff, pertinent public comment, and the public good. Our first agenda item is approval of the March 12th, 2026 minutes. Any discussion on the minutes as written?
One comment.
Mr. Malozzi.
Just to note, the opening says that it was a February meeting instead of a March meeting.
Correct. Please, Mr. Pfeiffer, if we can make note of that, February 12th, 2026, not 2025. Any other discussion? I'll accept the motion at this time.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of the March 12th, 2026 Planning Commission meeting
As amended.
as amended.
As amended, motion made, Mr. Malozzi. Do we have a second?
I second.
Second, Mr. Pongratz, roll, please.
Mr. Pongratz,
Approved. Yes. Yes.
Mr. Malozzi,
Yes.
Mr. Malosky.
Yes, minutes are approved. Our next agenda item, 110 Mountain Drive South, land development plan. When the applicant is ready, please introduce yourself and you may begin.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Tom Serpico. I'm with Pannoni Associates. I'm here with Joe Klochik and Jim LaRose from Lehigh University, Lehigh University's counsel, Kate Durso, and then Aaron Yessi, who is the lead architect on the project from Jigsaw. So we're here this afternoon to discuss the 110 Mountain Drive South University Drive land development. Lehigh University is planning on putting in a new dormitory as well as doing some improvements to University Drive. So I'm not sure if you guys recall, but back in December, we came in with a sketch plan application and we discussed the project at length. Since then, we've submitted a formal preliminary final land development application to which we have received comments from the city. We have also submitted to the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission and also to the Northampton County Conservation District. We've received both comments from them and we are diligently working with those two agencies to resolve any outstanding items. So as of right now, I'm not sure if you'd like to go through the project briefly, just as a reminder, I guess, or a review. The dorm is about a little over or a little under 24,000 square feet. It's proposing to have roughly a little over 370 beds. And associated with the project, we're proposing an underground stormwater detention system to manage the stormwater, as well as all of the improvements to University Drive. University Drive currently is one way, which in front of the project, which is coming from the intersection of Sayer Drive to the intersection of Taylor Drive along University Drive. That section is one way, which runs from west to east. Is that right? Sorry, I always get tripped up on that. Yeah. But then they're making some improvements to widen the road and then to have that to be two-way. in an effort to kind of circumnavigate the lower campus, the ASAPAC campus, so that they're trying to get all the cars out of the middle of the campus. So having a ring road around will kind of get all of the cars away from the pedestrian traffic will let the students and faculty on the site. So at this time, if there's any questions about the project, we'd like here to discuss it. But tonight, we're here to seek preliminary final conditional approval for the project based on the comment letter.
Thank you, Mr. Serpico. I want to remind everyone here and anyone who is watching online, yes, this project was presented to us as a sketch plan review a few months ago, and really appreciate that. It often makes the process much more smoother, and appreciate you coming in. With that said, off the top of my head, I'm sure there were some comments that were made. Maybe if you want to point out based upon some of the feedback that we provided then, maybe you just want to highlight some of those things that were mentioned a few months ago that, again, off the top of my head, I can't recall of any. If there anything, any planning commission members remember, if there's something, feel free. No.
So overall, the sketch plan application that we submitted was showing, the building and a lot of the improvements that were being done. And in general, a lot of those improvements haven't changed drastically. Obviously, we've advanced the design on those improvements for the preliminary final plan set. But overall, I think a lot of the conversation revolved around a little bit of fire access and some concerns with the fire chief, which we've been coordinating with, and we've been addressing their comments, as well as, talking about some of the parking measures that are on campus. So Lehigh University has their own parking study. And then as part of this project, there is parking along University Drive, which will be going away to make room for the two-way traffic. So we will be reducing the number of parking spaces in the area. However, that there's ample parking spaces on other areas of the campus that they're going to be utilizing for the site.
And if I recall correctly, the student makeup in that dorm is not allowed, correct, to drive.
Correct.
From a automobile standpoint, it's not necessary for the residents there.
Correct. So Lehigh University's parking services has been involved in the project, and they've been, working with the project managers at Lehigh to determine that all of those things are adequate for the parking for the campus. And this is mostly for freshman first-year students, which are not allowed to have a car on campus. So.
Correct. There is a comment, I'm sure you noticed it from the from our Environmental Advisory Council. Since it is a student makeup without automobiles, do you plan on providing some form of, whether indoor or outdoor, bike facility, bike rack, what have you? Is that something that...
So I believe on the plans, there are plans for bike rack locations. We're in the process of figuring out where on campus that makes sense in terms of, working with, the layouts and things like that, so that the students who choose to have bikes on campus can, obviously store them at the bike racks or do things like that. At this time, I don't think there's any significant bike storage inside the dorm, but I think there are proposed bike racks outside. Yep.
I applaud you again off of that memo that we received from the EAC. Confirm that you are utilizing a green roof. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, as part of the stormwater management aspects of the site, utilizing a green roof helps with dealing with a lot of the environmental regulations and the DEP regulations.
Right.
So, and it also just helps with the thermal impacts of the site and a lot of other generally positive things. So fortunately, Lehigh University is willing to explore that option, and they're, going to move forward with it.
Excellent. One last thing off the memo from EAC. I know this was off, I think it might have been mentioned at the sketch plan review, and I tend to always bring this up in reference to the number of windows that are provided. Did you research, look into anything with the bird safety glass? Has that been explored at all? I'm not saying it's something that is a requirement, but is that something that you looked into?
Yeah, so I believe that Aaron Yessi can actually probably speak to this a little more, but currently in the project, I think there is bird glass associated with the dormitory. So we're in the process of exploring that as part of the outer exterior. But Aaron, I'm not sure if you'd like to add on to that at all. Or?
Yeah, we are looking at a bird glass that's an acid etching that meets that 2 by 4 inch requirement for the something we're looking at.
Great. Good. And I know it was probably a comment made in jest. We went on to make sure that Muhlenberg wasn't the only Lehigh Valley college that would provide that type of window. We were hoping that Lehigh would come through with something along those lines. I'm not sure.
Well,
I'm
I,
not
believe, I believe Lehigh actually does have some bird glass on their campus already. So,
Great.
Good.
Good.
so-
That's on the record. Make note of that, Mr. Pfeiffer.
We think they were ahead of Muhlenberg, actually.
There you go.
Very good.
Okay. Mr. Pfeiffer, anything from the March 27th letter looks pretty clean, and rightfully so. The fact that we're in for a sketch plan review. Is there anything that you need to highlight from there?
Thank you. Yes, a couple items. I mean, the letter is pretty clean. That's a testament to Tom and his team for doing a good job with the sketch plan submission and cleaning up the comments. I'll just highlight a few. I apologize if I repeat things. There is under stormwater management, the comment about receiving the LVPC review. That review is actually part of your packet. There is some concern from LVPC regarding stormwater discharge on the western end of the site, which they may want to see a swale. I'm sure that is something we can work with Tom and his team on if that is ultimately deemed to be a requirement by the city and LVPC. Second would be sidewalks. They did ask, the applicant did ask for a deferral from the sidewalk width. As we mentioned during the sketch plan, this is in its entirety on private property. Therefore, our details are not required. We encourage them, but we do not require them. I'll get to the fire comments toward the end. I'll get to the EAC next. There was another request for waiver. Again, because it's on private property, it is not required. It is encouraged. The EAC, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for highlighting a lot of the things that they put in. This is something we're trying to do more and more, is have these conversations with you at the Planning Commission meeting. I am, for one, astonished that there's a green roof on this project. We never see this, so it is absolutely applaudable that they are willing to do this. They do suggest some other things. Well, they do highlight, I should say, other things. The watertight underground pond, they refer to as a creative and effective solution, so kudos there. They mentioned bicycle parking. Bicycle parking is always a requirement of the SALDO. Where it's most appropriate is up to the applicant to tell us and us to work with them. I would suggest that in addition to just the traditional bicycle that I'm used to, a lot of people are now using motorized scooters, motorized bicycles. So that should also be a consideration as they go through the architectural plans. The EAC also points out to consider LEED guidelines. That's leadership in energy efficient design, sustainable building materials. We already talked about bird glass. That's also a comment they put in there. And of course, encouragement to work with the city forester on what would be native species that are most appropriate for the soil conditions, the slopes, and promoting pollinators and wildlife. The LVPC review letter also is pretty complimentary. I won't highlight everything, but they do indicate that the proposal does meet the goal of future LV, and that it is to expand access to education and provide a variety of housing types. Under transportation, they note that the project has a number of improvements that will improve walkability, which is one of the key items that Lehigh University wanted to do with removing the parking and adding two-way traffic and pedestrian access, and particularly crosswalks. That the proposed plan has a net increase in the number of trees on site. They also reference native, climate adaptive, and carbon sequestering species of trees and shrubs. They do note that the site is steeply sloped and that ENS controls should be closely monitored. That would be us in the conservation district, as well as the engineer. And they also reference utilizing LEED certification design. The last two items are items that we're going to have to continue to work with, and I would encourage you to make them as part of your condition of approval. One is that the Act 167 Stormwater Management Ordinance has not been met with what has been submitted thus far. So a new submission will need to be made back to them, and so that we get that box checked. And the second was a brief conversation I had with our fire marshal. Tom alluded to this already in his comments, but those conversations are ongoing. The fire marshal is not yet satisfied with what has been submitted, so another submission will be need to be made regarding truck and apparatus access. That's everything. Thank you.
Mr. Piper. Tom, with those comments kind of highlighted, you feel confident that the dialogue you'll continue to have with the city, you'll be able to meet
Yes,
what we're asking for,
I believe that we'll be able to meet the requirements by having dialogue with the city, the LVPC, Conservation
particularly
District.
in the stormwater management comment and the fire apparatus.
Sure,
concern.
if I may, regarding the stormwater comment with the LVPC, I did have a conversation with Denjam Kodka at the LVPC regarding that specific topic, specifically the sidewalk on the west side of the project, which is creating an increase in stormwater flow. So previously, when we had met with some city officials to discuss the inception of the project, one of the discussions was that particular sidewalk. So the sidewalk that's on the west side of the site along University Drive, we feel that it's necessary for pedestrian safety in that area. So any sort of pedestrians that are coming up Broadhead Avenue, they get to a termination point of the sidewalk, and the goal is to have a crosswalk and then have them be safely walk up the hill on a sidewalk in that area. Given the constraints of putting a sidewalk in there, we're taking a lawn area and then making it an impervious surface, and all of that stormwater is flowing down Broadhead and going into the stormwater system eventually owned by the city. So when we were discussing with the city said that they would be willing to accept the increase in stormwater flow into their MS4 program, and that's how we were moving forward. So my discussion with Denjam was to basically have a conversation. He was going to have a conversation with the city to discuss that, to confirm that that was accurate, and that stormwater release rate on that area would be acceptable. Because of where we are in the Act 167 ordinance, we're in a conditional no detention so that we can have an increase in stormwater rate so long as the municipality can accept it and there's capacity in the system, which we believe is the case. So that is how we are planning on addressing that. So Denjam will have to have some conversations with the city to address that, and then the city will hopefully help us usher that forward with the LVPC.
Well, it's apparent that you're moving forward. That Mr. Pine, for everything that he mentioned there, that's kind of ongoing, correct?
Correct.
Frank, how would you like to phrase that condition? I'm big on being precise.
So I if I may, I think that the way that you worded it with the Act 167 coordination with the LVPC, it's still ongoing, and that would be a condition of the letter, I believe. So we are actively working with the LVPC on that, but we will need some assistance, I guess, with the city to discuss that topic.
So,
So-
an Act 167 plan that's to the satisfaction of the LVPC and the city, is that what we're going for?
Question. If the city
Go ahead,
accepts
Mr.
it,
Malone.
the LVPC doesn't have authority over this, right? They're recommending,
It's
Recommending it.
right.
right? So is it correct? So if the city approves, it's a matter of just a discussion to come to an agreement, but really the city has jurisdiction over this, correct?
Yeah. So to add on to that, their comments, LVPC, indicate that the drainage plan has been found to be inconsistent with Act 167 requirements, and that once the items that have been deemed to be deficient are addressed and a resubmission is made, that the appropriate review letter would be submitted. So if you want to just reference attachment number 1, Act 167 drainage plan review and compliance with that letter could be a condition. And then the second would be the condition that the correspondence, and the last one I have is dated April 7th, 2026, between the applicant and the city's fire marshal be addressed to the satisfaction of the city's fire marshal.
I think the only issue with the Act 167, though, is that we need, in order to be able to get the clean thing from the Act, from LVPC, we need the city's assistance to agree to accept that additional
Flow, yeah.
flow into the system.
Has that been formally requested?
I think it was discussed.
It was discussed, and then obviously there has been some personnel changes, I believe. So people that personnel.
So my
change has
request would be that you put that in writing, send it to myself,
Okay.
and I'll see that it's disseminated, and then we'll get you a formal response back. And that can be as simple as an email.
been- Got it. Thank you.
Mr. Maloney.
for clarification, so that the city has some ability to deviate from the strict Act 167 requirements to accept flow into the stormwater system?
Want to answer that question?
Can I jump in? It's actually not a deviation from the Act 167. The Act 167 states that we're in a conditional no detention, and if the parameters of that is if there is capacity, then you're still meeting the requirements. So it's not necessarily a deviation. It's just a subset of the requirements.
We have one of our engineers here, Dylan, if you don't mind, if you want to kind of jump in.
I think what you were saying is that it doesn't violate 167, right?
Correct. We would just need approval from the city to basically state that you're
We can
willing.
accept the additional flow.
Correct. Yep.
So that will be brought up to the stormwater engineer. I guess Craig said you're going to send him an email, and then
Mhm.
that'll go to Jonathan, and Jonathan can make that determination.
Got it.
So then, counselor, when it comes to condition for approval, we have to be specific on that item, correct?
Yes.
Any other questions or comments as it pertains to the stormwater management conditions or the fire truck apparatus situation? Mr. Malozzi.
Since we're on on the topic of stormwater, the EAC letter references a watertight underground pond.
Hmm.
Is it? I'm not familiar, but curious about. This is not like a regular underground stormwater basin. Is this something different?
Well, there's a whole bunch of different types of underground stormwater basins, so I'm not sure what you're familiar with, but
Coltec or one of those.
So what we're proposing currently in its current iteration is concrete chambers. Given the location of where the stormwater basin is in relation to the building, the footing influence on that is we don't want there to be any concern with any sort of plastic chambers or things like that. So originally we were looking into plastic chambers like a Coltec arch chamber or like an R-tank chamber system where it's like kind of like a milk crate system or a pipe and stone, looking at those things. But because we're I guess handcuffed by the amount of real estate that we have to deal with, we're looking at high volume options. So a concrete void gives us the best bang for your buck in terms of strength and then also stormwater management capacity. So that's what we're proposing. So it's a concrete chamber, essentially, a modular concrete chamber.
Did you come up with underground water type pond? Because I'm going to use that.
Go for it. That's fine. That's not a
It
problem.
sounds better than concrete chamber.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Oh, no problem.
And I do applaud the use of the green roof. I mean, I understand it's part of the whole stormwater management system and with steep slopes and where it's located, that you had to get creative with that. So great benefit.
Absolutely.
Exterior materials again being utilized. If you just want to touch on that, we have pictures here, the elevations and the renderings, but just for everyone, so we're all on the same page.
So I think Aaron would be a little more well equipped to handle some of the exterior stuff.
Yep.
You want to come up here and talk about it? Sure.
Yeah, so the facade materials are stone. There's two types. There's a full bed stone base around the perimeter of the building. Right now it's a granite stone. And then above that, which is the majority of the facade, is a slate shingle, which is a particular type of shingle both the materials are local to the area, and the shingle is quite prevalent on the roofs in the adjacent lot. So we think it will resonate with that quite a bit.
Yeah. So it's very similar to what's already existing, which is something that we obviously like to see. Great. Any other questions, Planning Commission members?
I just have a question in regards to the widening of the road. This is, and I think you said that this is a private road. There's no access for. I mean, it's not going to be a cut through with, neighboring.
No, not typically. So if you're familiar with Lehigh University's
Yeah.
campus, I'm sorry about
That's
that.
all right. That's all
right. So the outer exterior of the lower campus kind of has a ring road. So if you come up Broadhead, then
Mhm.
you run into the intersection of Sayre and University Drive. So that continuation of that road all the way down to Taylor to kind of loop around down to 4th Street is the key. So
Right.
typically, no, I would say that no one's really cutting through that area. I mean, it would be a very odd way to circumnavigate the site. I mean, maybe somebody coming from Wyandotte might cut through 8th Street, but highly unlikely.
I guess my thought was that if you're going to make it a two-way and widen it, maybe people get that and be like, oh my gosh, now I can cut through. So that was just my.
No, I wouldn't say that it's a primary cut through. I think more of the need for the two-way street is to just be the way campus traffic currently flows is that there's a lot of one-way
Yes.
roadways. So in an effort to kind of alleviate the traffic in the one-way roadways, having that two-way circulation all the way around the outskirts of like the main buildings, that will help alleviate all that. So
Any other questions, comments? So, Tom, based upon the feedback, and obviously we're focusing more on not only the fire truck situation, but the stormwater management, everything else from the March 27th memo, you feel you'll be able to comply with. Is that correct?
yes, I do believe that we can comply with that. I did have one question about the sanitary engineering comment. In the submission package, we did submit a sanitary exemption mailer with that. And in the comment, you're saying a planning module. So are you saying that a full planning module needs to be done? Because we were under the impression that an exemption mailer would be adequate for this project.
Did you receive a response back from DEP?
Not, we really haven't had any correspondence with you guys about that yet. So do you know if you guys have sent that up to the DEP? Because typically we would submit it to you guys would sign off on it and then send it up, I believe. And then we haven't had any correspondence with DEP yet on that. So we're still waiting on that. So
Okay. All right. Let me touch base with our engineering team.
Yep.
See where the status of that is.
Okay.
Then we'll reach out to DEP, see what their status is.
Yep.
And if as long as you get an exemption mailer, you're fine.
yeah, and that's it's in a service area, and there's adequate capacity in the system, we believe. So I don't think it'll be an issue. I just wanted to make sure because the wording of the comment was saying planning module, and we submitted the exemption mailer, so I wanted to make sure that you weren't requiring anything above that as of right now.
We are not, and we
Okay.
can clarify that for you. We'll
Okay.
put that in writing as well.
Got it. Thank you.
Can I just ask on this stormwater thing? I mean, can we have it as a condition, understanding that you will ask the city's approval if our MS4 can accept the extra stormwater?
Mhm.
I mean, you'll still need an approval letter from LVPC, right? So can that just be the condition? Understanding that you'll ask the city for the MS4 capacity, that the condition will be that you will get an approval letter from LVPC?
Oh, consistency letter. Yeah,
Yeah, the consistency letter on the Act 167 requirements. Okay,
Yep. I believe so. I think that would be adequate.
that satisfies it.
Great.
Sounds good. Well done, Mr. Anyone here in attendance have any questions, comments as it pertains to 110 Mountain Drive South, the new residence hall at Lehigh University? Seeing none, any other final comments, questions, city staff,
I have none. Thank you.
planning commission, Mr. Malozzi?
One other question regarding the architecture. You mentioned, is it slate? Is it like actual slate shingles?
Yeah, actual
Okay, great. I know there's the artificial stuff that kind of looks like it, but it's great when you use the actual building. Wonderful. Thank you.
Well, I commend you for obviously listening to some of the feedback, which what I recall wasn't a lot when you came in for the sketch plan review. This is something that's obviously being done the right way, right? And I'm not surprised. Lehigh University, obviously, and doing everything the right way is great. I think it's an awesome project. So at this time, and hearing what Attorney Deschler mentioned in terms of the conditions, I will accept the motion at this time. Mr. Malozzi.
Chairman Waskey, I'd like to make a motion to approve the land development application at 110 Mountain Drive South and 6566 University Drive, contingent upon meeting the conditions outlined in the city's March 27, 2026 review letter, with the following additional conditions. And in my own words here, approval from the city that the requirements of Act 167 are met, and receipt of the corresponding consistency letter from the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission. And resolution of any comments by the fire chief to the satisfaction of the city.
Motion made, Mr. Malozzi. Do we have a second?
I second.
Second, Mr. Pongratz. Roll, please.
Mr. Pongratz,
Yes.
Mr. Malozzi,
Yes.
Mr. Malosky.
Yes. Thank you. Appreciate your time. Best of luck moving forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Yep. Where's my agenda? Steal my agenda. Pelosi. They did. Mr. Pfeiffer, general discussion items, things that are upcoming.
Yeah, you'll have a fuller slate in front of you for next month. What we were hoping to have here tonight was 1224 Eaton Avenue. There is still some details being worked out between the engineer and our fire marshal. And so they did ask for a continuance to the following month. They did grant us an extension at the last meeting all the way through June. So we're comfortable there in terms of our MPC requirements. The other that we were hoping to have here tonight is 404 East 3rd Street. And unfortunately, the owner developer was unable to attend tonight. So they asked for an extension as well. Township Line Road, which I know is a popular topic of conversation, they are through to May. But if they don't make a submission to us, we're going to have to get an extension or they're going to have to withdraw, one or the other. The last, probably most exciting for the city, is and this has various names. I know it as the Gateway on 4th. Some people call it the Greenway Gateway Project. But 1400 East 4th Street, the former Szilagyi Fuels site, will be before you in May. And that is everything.
So we're looking at 3 in May or 4,
So Eaton Avenue, hopefully,
right?
404 East 3rd Street,
Right,
and 1400 East 4th Street.
right. And possibly the Township Line Road.
Possibly Township Line Road. That is correct. The others on your list, and forgive me, Steph has been unfortunately out, and so you got me doing most of the prep work here. So there are items on this document that are minor, so they won't come before you.
Right.
As in minor land development applications.
Yeah, minor land development or minor subdivisions.
All right. Anything else?
Oh, sir.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks. See you next month.
Some de minimis.